What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Salt and Pauper video, and today we are going to hit all of the brand new cards to Pauper from Magic's Jumpstart 2022. Now that we have the whole set, we're going to dive right in. We're going to take a look and evaluate each one for the Pauper format. As usual, I'm joined by my good friend Josh, otherwise known as Mayo on the internet. What's up, Josh? You ready to take a look at some of these new cards?
Oh yeah, all
All
all of
all
them.
12 of them? All
All.
right, well, let's take a look and jump right in then. All right, first off, we've got Chains of Custody, which is a 3-mana enchantment aura, and for 2 and a white, you've got enchant creature you control. When Chains of Custody enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls until Chain of Custody leaves the battlefield. Enchanted creature has ward 2. So this is O-Ring if O-Ring was also killed by creature removal. But it gives the creature it's on ward 2, which isn't nothing, but this just feels so much worse than O-Ring. Why wouldn't you just play O-Ring?
Because O-Ring is not in Chains or in Jumpstart 2022. That's
In Pauper. I don't give a shit about Jumpstart 2022. Who's playing Jumpstart 2022? In
but
Pauper,
yes,
a format that has O-Ring. Why would you play this card?
exactly.
Okay, great. Yeah, I
Maybe you
can't
put it
I
on a
can't
creature
think
that
of
has
any.
ward already, and that way it stacks. Yeah.
Yeah, Ward 8. Yeah, I can't think of a good reason to play this over O-Ring, I'll be honest. The upside is not high enough for me to risk getting blown out by them just removing my creature. This has all the downsides of an aura, and only works if the aura resolves. Yeah, this seems pretty bad to me, I'm not gonna lie. Cool design, though. Awesome, interesting design. I really like the art.
Yeah. When are we getting Chained to the Rocks?
Yeah, I don't know, but that would be nice. All right. Next up, what do we got next? We got Merfolk Pupil, a 2-mana Merfolk wizard. It's a 1/1 for a blue and a colorless, and it says when it enters the battlefield, draw a card, then discard a card. And then you can pay a blue and a colorless to exile it from your graveyard, draw a card, then discard a card. Um, I really like this card. I don't think there's a place for it, but I really like it.
Yeah, I like where they are in the design space for this. It would make more sense if it was like a 2/1.
Yeah,
Or a
definitely.
1/3.
Or
Something.
or a 1/1 for 1.
1/1 for 1. That lets you leave.
Yeah, if this was a
Okay.
1/1 Merfolk wizard for 1 blue that ETB'd loot and then you could exile it later to loot.
Would definitely play that card,
Yeah, the card would be
and
great.
I would not be ashamed.
No,
I
I'd
was
play
just
that card.
thrown off by that suggestion because I'm like, oh, that's also a thing that they could do.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I like this card even as a 2-drop. I think it would be much higher playability if it was a 1-drop, but 2-drop might still see some play. Card's good. All right. All right, moving right along. What do we got next? Next up, we have Soul Read. For 3 and a blue, you get an instant that says choose one, counter target spell unless its controller pays 4, or draw 2 cards.
I love it.
Really?
Yeah.
For 4 mana?
hmm
You were okay with that for 4 mana?
I am totally fine with an inspiration that also can counter sometimes.
Man,
I would not play this as a 4 if I'd played this probably a 2 of or so.
what are
But
you going to play it in? Because I don't think I'm putting this in anything. 4 mana is just way too much.
I mean, this would just be effectively counterspell 5 and 6.
4 mana is a lot.
Yes.
You know what
I
else
agree.
you know what else is counterspell 5 and 6? Mana Leak or Spell Pierce or Dispel.
Yeah, but those cards don't draw.
Neither does this if you play it as a counterspell.
Well, yeah, but that's why I said it's inspiration that sometimes is counterspell.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Inspiration's the mode on this. I don't think you want to counter something, but it's there if you need it.
I just
And
can't
that's
imagine
right.
ever paying 4 mana for that. Like, in Pauper today? Really? You think this card's playable?
Yes.
All right, I'm interested to see what you put it in because I don't think you're gonna like it.
Maybe not. But again, I think I might be overvaluing it for what, like how good inspiration was. Just the instant speed drawing and leaving your mana up. It feels good. Plus, leaving 4 up, you can definitely make them believe that you've got 2 counter spells.
Sure, but you realize that we have that card available right now. It's just not modal as a counterspell, and nobody touches them.
Well, yeah.
So if your argument is this is most of the time an inspiration and then sometimes it's a counterspell, like you have inspiration variants legal right now that are better and nobody's touching them.
What, they draw 3 cards?
No, like you've got what is it, like Into the Multiverse, scry then draw at instant speed, and you can foretell it to make it cost even less if you don't want to pay 4 for it. Nobody plays that. Like, you've got I think the closest comparison is probably Deep Analysis, and like the front end is almost uncastable, and it's not an instant, but like it's still 4 mana, draw 2 cards. And the front end is almost uncastable. Like, I just find it really hard to believe you're going to find space for a 4 mana instant that doesn't impact the board. And that you are going to be happy with casting it to draw 2 cards a lot. But I don't know. I'm down to be proven wrong here. I don't think this card's playable at all in Bobber.
I'm not saying that it's geez, what's that? Well, it costs 1 to draw 2. With Affinity, I'm blanking so hard.
Thoughtcast.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's Thoughtcast.
No, this is way worse than Thoughtcast.
Yeah, but I'm saying that this has a spot. I'll find it.
I wish you luck finding it, because in a format pretty much run on Deadly Disputes and Reckoner's Bargains, where 2 mana draws you 2 cards at instant speed, I think it's going to be a real big ask to find a way to pay 4 and be happy about it. But you do you, man. I wish you luck finding a spot for it, and I'm interested to see how it feels when you do. Let's see. Next up, we have a new vampire. Ooh. Creeping Bloodsucker. It's a 2 mana vampire. It's a 1/2 for black colorless. You get at the beginning of your upkeep, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and you gain life equal to the damage dealt this way. You know, I'm kind of a fan. I like this card. I think it could be better, but I think it could be a lot worse.
Isn't there a curse or an enchant player that does that already?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there's Curse of the Pierce Tard in red, too. Which is just another, like, ping. But the curse does not cost 2, that's for sure.
Pierce Tard? Yeah, it does.
No, not Pierce Tard. The one that actually drains.
Not the 4-drop one. I could have sworn there was a 2-drop that was, like, on your upkeep. It drains them for 1.
I don't think there's a 2-drop. I know of the 4-drop. I don't know that there's a 2-drop one. I'll look though. But I'm kind of a fan of this. I think this card's pretty good.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's like from Amonkhet. It might be when a creature enters under their control.
Oh, it is. I know that card. It's like a Curse of the something grave or tomb. It was the anti-Squirrel Storm tech for a lot of people. But that's whenever a creature enters. It's not every upkeep.
Okay.
And I like that this has a body, I'll be honest. I think that it's slightly better than the curses because it can block if you need it to. And it doesn't need to get in there to do its damage. Like, if it does get in there, it feels really good because it's a 2/2, but...
Yeah.
What I wish this card said, it would be a very subtle change, but it would be a very meaningful change. I wish this was a 1/2 for 2, just like it is now. But I wish that it said at the beginning of your upkeep, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and then instead of gaining life equal to the damage dealt this way, it just had lifelink.
Ah.
I think it would be significantly better that way. And it would be such a small change to make it so much better.
I see. That'd be nice. Would be nice.
Yeah, I wish that's the route they went here instead of what they ended up on. Still a good card. I think this is probably worth exploring. But yeah, I wish it had lifelink instead of just the life trigger on its ability. I think it would be much better that way. Let's see. What else we got? Oh, Ghoul's Feast Downshift, which is a card from... What did I say it was? Like Mercadian Masks?
Mercadian Masks,
Yeah. Downshift from Mercadian Masks. What a throwback. 2-mana instant. Target creature gets +X/+O for a black and a colorless, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. So similar to Overwhelming Remorse from the last set, where it cared about the number of creatures in your graveyard. Similar to Necromass from Dominaria United, which cared about the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Starting to get a little bit of support for this really creature-heavy graveyard cares matters kind of synergy. I don't know that this is enough, but it's a start. I'm not mad about this downshift. I think this downshift can catch a lot of people off guard.
Real cute with like self-mill and fling.
Mm-hmm.
More self-mill and rights of consumption.
Sure, yeah.
The problem is like this is gonna go in over another card in your deck. And I don't think this is better than that other card. Like you would just be going for the combo finish.
Sure.
Yeah, and then you want, so at the bare minimum, this and fling, and the rest of the cards. What you want? Like 28 creatures or so.
Probably, yeah.
So that's 36, and you have 4 other spells you could use.
Ish, depending on what your creatures are. Yeah, it really doesn't leave a whole lot of space for you. Yeah, you're right there. Yeah, I will say I kind of am a fan of this ability, this kind of creatures in the graveyard matters sub theme. I like that it's getting support. I just don't know that we have a meaningful enough payoff for how much, how many deck building gymnastics you have to play it. But speaking of support for that archetype, let's move to Ossuary Rats, which is the next card up. And that card is a 6-mana rat. For 5 and a black, you get a 3/2. And it says when it enters the battlefield, it deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, where X is the number of creatures in your graveyard.
Seems
so we get
like
another card in this. Yeah, I think that it's really interesting that this has as many checks as it does, right? You have to have a bunch of creatures in your graveyard. It can only target a creature an opponent controls for some reason. Why is that requirement on there? What's the concern that this is going to nuke your own creature for value? Like, why is... You're paying 6 for this, bro. You should be able to target whatever the hell you want. And I think it should be able to target players. Like, if you're paying 6 mana for a 3/2 rat, like, Corrupt exists, bro. Why, like, if you're paying Corrupt mana, you should get Corrupt targets. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
And, like, don't get me wrong, I kind of understand that they didn't want you to just be able to, like, ephemerate your ossuary rats and nuke for, like, 10. But, bro, it's a 3-2 that costs 6. Is that really the worst? People can flicker Gary now. Like, bro, what? Why? This card has so many hoops to jump through and so many, like, built-in limitations on it that I just don't know why there are that many limitations on it, you know?
Yeah, it's it is disappointing. I don't
Yeah.
know where this is going.
Nowhere.
I think that
It's going in my
yeah.
bulk pile.
Oh, you're letting it into a pile?
I mean, I'm going to put it in my bulk pile. That's about it. It's going in the box that is not in Pauper Playables. All right, let's see. Next up, we have Suspicious Shambler, which is a zombie. It's a 4-2 for 3 and a black. It says, for 6 mana, 4 and 2 black, exile Suspicious Shambler from your graveyard. Create 2/2/2 zombies. Activate only as a sorcery. So this is Zombie Mother Bear. It also has one of the best arts I've seen on a card in a long time.
Yeah.
and fantastic flavor text. So I just, like, I'm a big fan of this card. I think this card's probably pretty good. I think this card is a strong contender for Cube. I don't think there's a chance in hell this sees constructed play. But this is definitely a Cube card for sure. This card's great.
And it's going to be called Mother Zombie. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, Mother Zombie for sure. All right. Man, what good art. All right, next up we have Goblin Researcher, which is a 3/3 Goblin Wizard for 3 and a red, and it says whenever it enters the battlefield, exile the top card of your library. During any turn you attacked with Goblin Researcher, you may play that card. Now, interestingly, it uses the qualification of the name, which means that if you exile a card with this card, and then later it dies, but you play another one and attack, you have access to all cards previously exiled, even with other instances of this card, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
there's one other card I know of with that templating, and it's a mythic rare, and it has 2. It costs 2, and it's got haste.
Yep.
It's interesting to see them expand with this effect.
I wish it was better.
Right? I wish this had haste.
Right?
Then you might actually be able to cast.
I wish this had haste. I wish it was a 2/2 for 2. I mean, I wish it was a lot of things, but 3,
So
like,
just play the mythic rare.
Bro, it's a goblin. Why are you making a 3/3 for 4 goblin? Like,
I mean, the biggest goblin that exists is what it was either a mutant or it's Mux this at 4/4, right?
yeah. And this is a dweeb. Yeah. You see his nose? He get punched out all the time. He's a science nerd. He shouldn't be a 3/3. He should be a 1/1.
Yeah, I'm getting some major like ringleader vibes off the cost, but not ringleader vibes off the effect or
exactly.
Power toughness.
Yeah, I mean, this should definitely be like a 1/1 for 1 or like a 2/1 for 2. That ETBs exiles the top card. It's not like it exiles a card every time you attacks. It exiles the one card, and then you have to attack to be able to cast that card. Like, bro, this should be a 1-drop. Like, why is this a 3/3 for 4? Although I do absolutely love the flavor text. Solid flavor text. All right, let's see. Next up, we have Plundering Predator, a new dragon in Pauper, which is always exciting. It is a 3/3 dragon for 4 and a red. It says flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card.
It's a rummaging dragon.
Yeah. I don't know why it's called plumaging predator. It should definitely be like, I don't know, make treasure or something. It's literally carrying treasure.
It's dropping a lot of it, though.
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. Yeah, I don't know. Not a fan. I'm excited for new dragons in Pauper, but this just is not a good dragon.
Mm.
Sad. Could have been better.
I agree.
All right. Next up is Giant Ladybug. We start our green cards. It is a 4/1 insect for 2 and a green. It has reach for some reason. And when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, then shuffle and put that land on top. Take it away.
Yeah, like get it away from me.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
I have a lot of problems with this card. Why isn't it a rampant growth? Why does it have 1 toughness? And why does it cost 3?
Because insects are inherently weak. But
so we're goblins, and we just got a 3/3 goblin scientist.
Don't worry about that. I really don't like that it doesn't put it in your hand.
Me too. I have one positive about this card.
All right. Shoot.
It trades up into Giant Spider somehow. Giant Ladybug trades with Giant Spider.
Mm-hmm.
How? No idea. But it does. It's my only positive point about this card is that it can kill a giant spider. How that makes sense, I have no idea, but it can.
You may have something here.
All right, let's see. Moving right along, what do we got next? Oh, a card that people actually are speculating will have an impact in elves, which is really interesting. Spectral Hunt Caller is a 4/4 wolf spirit for 4 and a green. And it says 5 and a green. Creatures you control get 1/1 and gain trample until end of turn. Notably, not only its sorcery, not only once a turn. So they've opened the space up for mana sinks again, which is nice. I don't know that this is what elves want it to be. But I can see why people are excited to try it. It's definitely interesting.
I mean, I know elves gets a lot of mana, but does it get like near infinite mana?
Well,
I
so
can activate this more than once?
It can pretty regularly make this into an overrun. It can give its board +3/+3 and trample. Pretty regularly, with like 1 query in activation and a Priest of Titania.
That's fair. I forgot Priest of Titania.
Yeah, that card's busted.
I suppose, but I don't really like paying 5 to get this at the start.
I just don't like
What are
that
you
it's
cutting?
not an elf.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was my next thing. It's like, what are you cutting? It has to be an elf, right? Like, you're not cutting one of your 3 lands.
No, you're probably cutting like maybe 1 of your meat at the taverns.
Oh, yeah, okay. Possibly for the, yeah.
Or
that
one
makes
of
sense.
your other refill cards. But yeah, it's tight. I think maybe you could fit 1 or 2 in elves to try it if you really want to. And it probably cuts for like Meet at the Tavern or Lead the Stampede or maybe like your 4th Distant Melodies if you're still running the blue variant. Something like that. I can't imagine. I mean, there are a couple flex slots, right? A lot of main boards are running things like Viridian Longbow or Duress or Dispels. So, like, you do have a little bit of flex that you can play with. You could probably slot this in as a 1 or 2 of to test out, but I don't think you can get many more.
Yeah, it's just really difficult for me because it costs 5, then it costs 6. So you need to get 11 mana off of your Priest of Titania.
That's not hard. 18 is, like, not hard. 18 is like 1 query and 1 Priest of Titania with like a normal board size. So I think it's highly plausible that you will play this and trigger it twice to win the game that turn.
As long as you can do that, then sure, try it. But
I just don't know if that's better than just having the lead the Stampede to give everything +2/+2, because the trample is kind of like additive distraction for this specifically. Like, nobody is going wide enough to keep up with elves in this format, which means you don't need trample to kill them. You just need more tokens. I will say that this is one of the only instant board pump effects that we have that is repeatable. So, like, this makes, like, if you have this out and, like, a Quirion Ranger or like 1 or 2 Quirion Rangers with a single Priest of Titania or, like, a single Timberwatch Elf and a Priest of Titania, and you land this, it makes trying to, like, Breath Weapon or Fiery Cannonade or, like, Arms of Hadar or Crypt Rats or Pestilence Ping really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because your threat of activation is huge in the face of those board wipes. Like, it makes it really difficult to pull the trigger and go for it, even when they should, because they're like, well, you're just going to pump twice, and then it doesn't matter. So, it's... I think that a lot of people are going to get caught off guard by how relevant this card is in Elves. Specifically once you've, gotten your board state. But I can't imagine this is more of like a 1 of, maybe a 2 of. You really can't afford that many slots to this. But when it lands, if you've got a board, like, this card's going to feel great. Especially because a single threat of activation takes this off of, like, any spot removal, right? Like, they can't Galv Blast it if you can activate it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a fan. I think this card's probably pretty good. I'm interested to try it in Elves. I think it's, like I said, potentially a 2 of, probably a 1 of. But as a 1 of, it'll probably come down and win some games for sure.
It's difficult. It's still a hard sell. I have to play with it to really, I think, get into that.
Sure.
But that's difficult.
I think it's possible. I don't know that it's guaranteed to be like an immediate staple in Elves, but that's kind of the whispers that I've heard surrounding this card initially. And I'm inclined to believe, having played a fair bit of Elves, that this card could certainly come down and be an absolute powerhouse. So we'll see. Any other closing thoughts for this guy?
Not particularly.
All right. Well, let's move into the artifacts then. Next up is Infernal Idol, 3-mana artifact that says tap, add a black, or colorless black, tap, sacrifice, draw 2, lose 2. So you can use it to ramp yourself on black, or you can sack it to Night's Whisper. I don't think this is very good. I don't know of any instance in mono black or any other deck that would want this type of effect. Where you don't just run the 2-mana lose 2 draw 2 variant of your choosing, either Night's Whisper or Sign in Blood. Because I can't imagine any deck that needs 1 additional black that badly. Yeah, I can't find a way to say that the ramp is worth a card slot, even if you can cash it in later. And why would you run this over just running the spell that's cheaper, that lets you do the thing you wanted to do when this comes down anyway? I don't know. Not a fan of this one. Not a fan. You have thoughts here?
No, it exists. It's not really going to be something I'd expect to see.
Yeah.
I might be happy if my opponent's playing it, because it's like, oh, thank goodness. I was worried it would be a different card,
Right.
like
I would
any
worried you'd
other
be
card.
playing good cards.
Yeah, it's just like
Yeah. It's not energy refractor.
it's it's not.
It's not even network terminal. I think both of those cards are significantly better than this card.
Hmm.
All right, and then last but not least, because we do not have very many cards from Jumpstart 2022 that are new to Pauper, we have Dutiful Replicator. We get a 3/2 artifact creature assembly worker for 3 mana. It says when it enters the battlefield, you may pay 1. When you do, create a token that's a copy of target token you control, not named Dutiful Replicator.
There's a lot of words on that,
Yes.
but the annoying part is create a token that's a copy of target token.
Yes.
So you do have to have a token out. Doesn't matter what kind of token, but it does have to exist. And this costs 4 to do that. That effect
Yeah.
seems reasonable.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't hate 3 mana for a 3x dork that like makes a copy of my thing for 1 mana. Well, my
yeah.
question to you is, what's the best token that you can feasibly copy?
Um, best token.
Fractal? No, because it
No,
doesn't
it's
come
zero
any with
zero.
any 1/1 counters.
Um,
Maybe
uh,
the 4/1 menace from the initiative, the Undercity.
there's a 4/4 Atropole, which is legendary. No,
Oh,
that doesn't work.
I don't particularly mean just what's the best token you can get. I just mean what's the
Hmm.
best thing in Pauper that is played that makes tokens that you would want to copy with this.
That's a lot of qualifications in that one statement.
Because
Um,
most of them are like blood and treasure, and like none of those are worth 1 mana to copy. So what's a token you want to copy that is played that's worth playing this card to get more of? The 4/1 menace from the initiative is kind of the only thing I could think of.
um,
Because you don't give a shit about goblin tokens, or like the 2/2 samurai vigilance is not worth playing this to get an extra one of. So, like, what are you hoping to duplicate with this card? I think that's my biggest problem. And I do not know the answer. I'm not like looking for a specific thing. I have no idea.
I
I.
think the biggest thing that you would care to do that with,
Mhm.
like, it'd have to be over 2 power, 2 toughness, right? So
Yeah,
the
definitely.
thing that I would look to try and abuse this with would be the maybe the lesson that makes it 4/4 elemental
Oh,
and
okay.
Strixhaven.
Uh huh.
That's the
Sure.
only possible token generation I would try to abuse this with. But I don't think that's enough because you're doing a whole lot of stuff to make this card better,
Yeah.
more useful. I think that instead this card should exist in a way like when you make a copy of a spell that's a permanent,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a token.
Yeah.
I think that's the kind of way you should try to abuse this. And I don't remember if there's ways to copy um, spells to where they become tokens
No, there are
in
ways to
Pauper.
copy spells on the stack, but not
Hmm.
permanent spells, just instant or sorceries in Pauper.
Hmm. So until that day finally comes, I don't think Dutiful Replicator is going to be
I wish that this just
useful.
let you target itself. And not like in an infinite way. I think that this should this should take a lot of the variation and the like weird upside off of it. It should just say 3/2 artifact creature assembly worker for 3. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 if you do create a token of this card.
Four mana for 3/2 or 2 3/2s.
Uh-huh. Like, that's above rate, and it'd be good, but it still wouldn't be, like, that good.
Yeah, there's no, like, keywords on it. That'd be fine. I do wish that they would have made it not that stupid target token you control.
Yeah. If it just targeted a creature.
And it doesn't make sense that it can't target a token named Dutiful Replicator either.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can make a token of Dutiful Replicator,
you should be able to go infinite.
You should be able, well, not infinite, right?
But well, if you could target tokens named Dutiful Replicator and have infinite mana, then you can make infinite tokens.
Like, it does go infinite with Ashnod's Altar, but you could just, theoretically just pay out just a straight amount of mana that you have, and you'd still be doing well, right? You play Dutiful Replicator with 6 mana out, you get 3 extra Dutiful Replicators. That'd be insane. Or if you'd,
I want this, like, realistically, I want this to cost 4, and then each additional token to cost 1. So I want this to be maybe a 2/2 for 4, and then I want you to pay 1 to make additional copies on ETB. So, like, 4 mana plays a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 1 any number of times. For each time you do, create an additional copy of this card that's a token.
Well, I mean, you don't even need to say any number of times. Just create a copy of this card, and the next one has that same effect, and you just pay 1.
Sure.
In the entry.
But I personally, I want them... I want to be able to sync it all in at the same time. I don't want to get, like, Moonshell Crabbed on the triggered ability of the first one and lose the chain.
Well, to be fair, if you get Moonshell Crabbed on the ability of the first one, in either way, you would lose the chain.
Yes, sure. But what I mean is I don't want to have each one resolve. I want to put all of the copies on the stack at the same time. Because if you allow it so that each time one enters, you get a trigger, Ashnod's Altar is infinite. I don't want that to be the case here. I want it to be when it enters the battlefield, you have a single trigger, you pay 1 as many number of times as you want or can, and then you get a 2/2 token for each time you paid. And so for 4 mana, 2/2 below rate. For 5 mana, 2 2/2s is almost on rate for colorless. For 6 mana, you get 3 2/2s. You're now on rate for a colored spell. 7 mana, 4 2/2s. Now you're starting to get into something, That's kind of where I want this card to be. I want this card to be small, but it, like, duplicates itself endlessly depending on how much mana you have. But I don't want it to go infinite with flicker shenanigans like Ashnod's Altar. I just want it to be able to go big. I want this to be like a ramp payoff, not some weird token payoff.
Yeah, I think we're in the same idea of where we want it to be, payoff-wise. But I also think that Ashnod's Altar isn't really played very much.
Oh, it is.
I have not seen it.
It's the entire cornerstone of both versions, or of at least one version of the Tron combo deck. The Mer Retriever version is Ashnod's Altar.
Okay. All right.
Especially with Energy Refractor. I mean, you could just run, like, 4 Dutiful Replicators, 4 Ashnod's Altars, 4 Energy Refractors, and have a curve like turn 1, play anything, turn 2, untapped land, Ashnod's Altar, turn 3, untapped land, Dutiful Replicator, go infinite, play an Energy Refractor, have infinite mana of any color. Like, yes. That seems bonkers. But anyway, that is our last card for Jumpstart 2022. How do you feel about Jumpstart?
But for the most part, Soul Read I think is the one that gets me the most interested, gets my brain juices flowing.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not a ton of exciting cards from Jumpstart 2022. I'll be honest. I don't know that any of them are gonna really see play. But I will say I'm really excited for that Spell Stutter Sprite anime art. Looks so good.
Fair enough.
All right, guys, that is it for Jumpstart 2022. Those are all of the new cards for the Pauper format. What did you think? Are you excited to play some Jumpstart 2022? And if so, go ahead and let us know down in the comments. Really appreciate you guys sticking around, watching these videos. If you like these videos, make sure you like the video to let us know that you want to see more. And don't forget to click the subscribe button. Make sure that you are subbed to the channel so that you catch the next videos as they come out. As usual, guys, thank you so much. Josh, thanks for hanging out, man. And goodbye forever, unless I see you next time.